Howdy folks, my name's Christian and welcome to Bullish on Farming. Today we're taking a look at our stalker group. Got about 9 head in here. This would be last year's calves. Half of them, the other half, is with the main group. And reason being is I wanted to up our numbers of that main group because that main group's what's going to be grazing most of the farm. These yearlings here are limited to a few what I'll call finishing fields. Some lush fields that we have because these are our meat cows, so they're going to be growing out, or I should say steers rather, and heifers. These are the ones that are going to be growing out for meat, and so we want to make sure that we're doing a good job moving these guys and making sure that they're getting the highest quality vegetation that they can get. So what are we doing with them here today? Well, just to give you guys some context, we're June 15th. And when the cattle enter their new paddock now, grass is pretty much up to their chins. Some of it's gone to seed head, a lot of it has, as you can see. And you know, a lot of folks worry about that. Good thing that we do mob grazing. You know, there's nothing that you can't do about your land and how you're finding it when you're using regenerative techniques. There's many ways that you can graze your cattle. Some people think, oh, you just put them out, they eat grass, and then you move them to the next section. Well, there's a little bit more to it than that. You can size your paddocks accordingly so that your cattle will behave in certain ways. So what are we doing here? Well, because we have some tall grass that's gone to seed head, I've made narrow paddocks here, about 15 yards wide, poly braid on each side, and it's hot. It goes about 180 yards long. So what this does is it promotes the cattle to be walking back and forth. We got their mineral tub all the way at the other end, can't see past the trees there. We got their water tub right here with a nice bush area for shade. And I don't know, but a lot of times throughout the day, you'll see the cattle sweeping back and forth, grazing back and forth. And what does that do? Well, it does this. It tramples all the grass down, and what they don't eat gets trampled down onto a carbon floor. So you can see, this is a section they haven't entered yet. And I just moved them here this morning. Look at all the trampling that's already happened. You can see that way, maybe a bit better this way. But the cattle have trampled down what they haven't grazed, and there's still more to go. And so, you know, the whole idea, if you've watched some of the previous videos, is to create that carbon floor, which has a multitude of benefits. Okay? Now, obviously, you're not going to get every single blade of grass trampled down. Okay? This was their last paddock that I moved them from this morning. Let's go take a look over here. Now, as I'm walking, taking a look down, you're going to see some soil, but as I go, what I'm looking for is I got to peel back the grass to find soil, right? I want that insulation layer over top of the bare soil, protecting it from the harsh exposure of the elements and creating an ecosystem where you're getting moisture capture and micro activity, okay? We just got a little drizzle of rain about an hour ago, so the soil's going to look moist. But after a couple of days without rain, those bare spots of soil, they're going to be dried right out. You see folks' pastures cracking up. It's because they got no carbon layer over top of it. The wind, the sun evaporates the moisture up. The wind dries it right up. And I mean, take a look over here. Now, I ran a 2-day, had the cattle in this one for 2 days because, you know, you're going to find that some areas are more lush than others. But I'm looking down and I can't find any soil. All I see is a carpet of grass, a carpet of carbon. That's what we're looking for. So, those of you who are worried because you have fields that have gone to head, that your cattle aren't going to eat it, well, first of all, your cattle got to be trained to electric wire. If they're not, you should do that first. Then, once they're trained to electric wire, start doing stuff like this. Mob graze them, size out their paddocks, Now, you're gonna, you know, there's no rule of thumb as to what the size of your paddock should be for the amount of cattle you have. It all depends on the, you know, the size of the cattle, the quality of forage, the forage density. So all of these come into play. You really just have to experiment with the group you're working with and find what works for you. So nothing too exciting here. You can see that these stalkers are just in the shade. It's a hot day, 27 degrees. And they have been munching all morning. But soon enough, they'll take another trip out. They'll go to the other end and sweep back and sweep here. And I mean, I'd love them to do it a million times a day. We want to trample down as much of the grass right now as we can. Folks might be saying, oh, well, you know, you're wasting feed. You know, they're trampling it all down to the ground. Okay, I'm not gonna sound like a broken record. We're building a carbon floor, but so it's not a waste, okay? It's fertilization of our fields. So, not sure if the camera's gonna translate that, but the left was grazed, trampled, and the right, and I'll switch on you. The left, they just moved in today. The right, they were in for 2 days prior. So, folks, don't be scared of these things. There's nothing that you can't do about the state of land, the state of your land, okay? There's always something you can do. The disadvantage that people have is that they lack the awareness of what they can do with their land. I mean, take a look at all of this. Now, it is June, so I do have the comfort of knowing that I can come with the mower and clip this, and I probably will, just out of good practice, so that it all grows up nice and lush, nice and even. And, well, that'll be it. I mean, I'm just gonna clip it once in June, because you can. You got that, you know, it's early enough on in the season, and because you can't always touch all your fields before some of it starts to grow to head and mature. You know, you'll often hear farmers talking about clipping their pastures after first pass, and you know, we've done that on some fields already. I think we're gonna do it on this one, especially because this is a finishing field. But these stalkers have been eating good. There's a nice manure pat. They're getting high quality, high protein vegetation here. And we run grass-fed cattle, so that's important. They don't eat grain. We do have a few that we grain finish for a hotel that we supply for. And that's a little different. But with regards to most of the cattle that we finish, they're finished on grass. So, you know, the quality of our pastures is especially something that we want to focus on, A, and B, invest in. And how do you invest in it? You manage your cattle properly and you give back to the land, okay? You're not so concerned with how much you can take from it year to year. You're more concerned about doing what it takes to give these animals the best quality of life, making sure that they're not pulverizing your pastures, making sure that the way you're grazing them is increasing the fertility of your soil, and so increasing the quality of your feed. And when you just kind of have that holistic outlook, it all comes together. It all takes care of itself. So yeah, maybe I'll cap that one off here, and we'll catch you on the next one, guys. Thanks for stopping by.